Hello class, good afternoon. So if last meeting we talked about weathering. So when you say weathering, that is responsible for breaking rocks. So today let's discuss soil erosion and its effects. But before that, how soil or how erosion differs from weathering. When you say weathering, again, it is responsible for breaking rocks, and the particles or sediments do not stay in one place. Of course, as the rocks breaks into particles or sediments, these will not stay in one place. They are transported to different parts of Earth's surface, and the transportation of those rock particles and sediments elsewhere is a process known as erosion. So erosion is brought about agents like wind and water. Compared to others on the surface of the earth, these two forces are constantly at work. So thus they bring about important changes on the surface of the earth. So meaning to say there is one reason why there is erosion because of wind and water. These two forces are constantly at work. They bring about important changes on the Earth's surface. Evidence of their continuous action is the vast amount of finer particles called soil, which is formed and distributed to the surface of the Earth. So, because of these two agents, wind and water, okay, the particles, finer particles called soil is formed and distributed to the different surface of the earth. They are also the reason why um, there are changes on the surface of the earth. Weathering occurs so slowly that is seldom noticed. Okay, so when you say weathering, it takes time, and sometimes you can't notice the changes on the rocks. Erosion can be more rapid. So it means that erosion is very evident and you can observe it. The deposition or settling of the finer particles of rocks or sediment carried by wind or water can easily be seen. That's what we call deposition. While this buildup is faster than the composition of rocks, or that is okay, the settling of finer particles of rocks or sediment carried by wind or water can easily be seen. That is deposition, while decomposition is okay, rocks will be okay, will become okay, particles or sediments, which is not um which can which is seldom noticed. Wave action as an agent of weathering can be considered an erosive force. 2. After the rocks are broken into pieces, they are carried away just as fast. Wind is an agent of weathering as well as erosion. So, weathering and erosion can occur simultaneously. So, after weathering, then there would be an erosion. Of course, it occurs because of water or wind. It is hard to draw a line between them. Wave action, for instance, as an agent of weathering, can be considered as an erosive form as well. After the rocks are broken into pieces, they are carried away just as fast. Wind as an agent of weathering as well as erosion. So the wave action can break rocks into small pieces. At the same time, they can transport these particles into different areas. Okay, here are the causes of erosion, starting with water erosion. We know that water is continuously cycled into the air and back into its sources or the natural bodies of water and ground. When rain falls, water joins the oceans, streams, and lakes. Part of the water flows through the innumerable rivers and streams and deposit its loads into the ocean. Water that sinks into the ground forms groundwater. So compared to other agents, running water accomplishes the greatest change on Earth by erosion. So water can cause erosion after the rain. The runoff dissolves the fine particles as it flows. The strong force of the runoff carries pebbles and finer particles on its way down. These are deposited last and are therefore carried farthest away. So it means that after a rain, there is runoff water. So this runoff water will carries the pebbles, sands, and finer particles and into its farthest way. So in that way, that is erosion because the rain or the runoff okay will carries these pebbles, sands, and finer particles into different area or into other area. So next is, so just like this one, this run of water or running water will carry the particles, pebbles into other area. A trip to school grounds, the backyards of the streets, and after the rain rapidly shows running water can erode the surface even if it is mostly covered with soil. Just like in this picture, the running water from the rain erodes the surface of this cornfield. So in addition to the muddy appearance of the water, there are narrow gullies but the surface water. As the gullies flow down a hillside, the water removes topsoil. Bigger gullies form into streams. A stream moves sediments and this constant motion erodes the stream bottom, forming a valley. When streams enter rivers, the water flows and drop its sediments. And that's how the particles and sediments move and carried to farthest away. So this one is an example of real joint to form large channel called gullies. So once in the previous lesson, the dissolving action of water was cited as a force of weathering. And its ability to form carbonic acid, which in turn erodes rocks and minerals, make it highly effective agent for breaking rocks. It becomes an erosion agent because it dissolves more substance before they are carried off and finally deposited. If the materials were not dissolved in water, they would not be removed easily from the rocks and transported elsewhere, and that is water erosion. So water can can be an agent for weathering at the same time agent for erosion. Next is splash erosion. So splash erosion is raindrops falling on the soil exert pressure with their weight. So their weight can easily float with the raindrops struck on the umbrella and or hat. That's why when it's raining, you can hear the sound from the roof. Okay. so that raindrops has force. The force of the wind adds to the force with which they strikes Earth's surface, and this causes noticeable movement of the soil. If the soil is loose, it's not protected by covering on the surface, then a okay large amount of its loss through raindrop erosion, which also called splash erosion. So this one happens, okay, this is an example of splash erosion because of the force of the rain, at the same time the wind, the particles, okay, the particles of the soil will move, most especially if the soil is not protected or covered with grass.